Hello students. Today we will discuss about the most important topic that is related to the section C, wherever the questions we are getting in your poetry, the one question that is going to be frequently asked by CBSE regarding your figures of speech as well as the poetic device. So first of all we will discuss about what figures of speech are. A figures of speech is a word or phrase using figurative language that has another meaning than its normal definition. In other words, figure of speech rely or implied on suggested meanings rather than a dictionary definition. We express and develop them through hundreds of different rhetoric techniques from specific types like metaphor, simile, etc. So this is the definition. Now we will discuss about the types of figures of speech. So on your screen you are watching the one number that is called simile. Students, let me remind you that simile is the figure of speech that is telling you, that is introduces you the comparison between two objects. A simile shows a likeness or comparison between two objects or events. A simile is usually introduced with the words like as, or so. Example: she is as pretty as a picture. The story was as dull as a ditch water. He is as sober as a judge. The word as or like is definitely going to be used in simile. You can also use an example, just like my friend is like a diamond, and these all are the example of simile. The second one of your poetic device is metaphor. A metaphor is like a simile. The two objects are compared without word as or like. It is implied simile. Actually, simile and metaphor are just looking as it is, but the one and the only difference is that the words as or like are not used in the metaphor. Always remember that simile and metaphor only differs in the matter of the words, just like as or so. So in the examples of metaphor we are clearly watching that he was a lion in the battlefield. If we change it into the simile, then we can say that he was like a lion and he was as strong as a lion. But the metaphor is totally different from simile, just in the manner we are saying directly to the person what he is looking like. Just he was a lion in the battlefield. Second number is variety is he spice of life. Third one, she was a tower of strength in their trouble. We can also definitely going to watch the situation where we are not used any type of words like was, as, or like. Okay, so this is the difference between simile and metaphor. I hope you understood the definite difference between simile and metaphor. Now next point is that personification. So in personification, non-living object, abstract ideas or qualities are spoken as persons or human beings. In personification, non-living objects or abstract ideas are qualified, are spoken as of person or human beings. In this personification, the poet used the non-living things, objects, just to prove that these all are alive, but there is nothing living in these things. So the example is necessity knows no law. We know that necessity is not a human being. Hope springs eternal. Example number next, let the flood clap their hands. We all know that flood will not clap their hands because it is a non-living things. But we have to say these things just like to prove that these idea or persons are just like human beings. Next, I kiss the hands of death. We frequently use personification whether we knew it or not when we describe a promising morning, a treacherous sea, or a thankless task. Next point of figures of speech is apostrophe. An apostrophe is the development of personification in which the writer address absent or inanimate object, concept, or ideas as if they were alive and could reply. We all know that, and we all have read a lots of poets who are talking to the rain, who are talking to the air, who are talking to the sun, and this is totally an example of apostrophe. So this is the example of apostrophe for all of you. So a fair daffodil, we weep to see you, hast away soon. Next, O wind, where have you been? Next example, lead kindly light amid the encircling gloom. We all know that we will have to talk to the non-living object just like they are living. So if we are going to address them, this is called your personification. Apostrophe, sorry. And next your oxymoron. An oxymoron is when two terms or words are used together in a sentence, but they seemed to contradict each other. Oxymoron is a statement on the surface seems to be contradicted itself, a kind of crisp contradiction. We all know that in an oxymoron, we will have to use two words in a sentence just opposite each other. An oxymoron is a figure of speech that deliberately uses two different ideas. This contradiction creates a paradoxical image in the reader and listener's mind that generates a new concept or meaning for the whole example. Just listen for the whole. Now read the example. Life is bittersweet. Bitter and sweet are just contradicted words. He is the wisest fool of them. Wisest, we all know it is intelligent. Fool, we all know it is fool. He was condemned to living a death. Living is a living word, death is just opposite. So we have understood the meaning of oxymoron clearly, that these words are having opposite meaning. So we have to use this. If we will find these types of words in any line of any poem, we will have definitely going to find out that this is nothing none other than oxymoron. Next, irony. Irony is when one thing is said which means the exact opposite. With irony, the word used suggests the opposite of their literal meaning. The effect of irony, however, can depend upon the tone of voice and context. It is humorous or lightly sarcastic mode of speech. Words are used here to convey the meaning contrary to their literal meaning. Note, an irony remarks implies a double dual view of things, a literal meaning and a different intention. Irony can be used to create amusement, unlike sarcasm. When used to taunt or ridicule, irony is called sarcasm. We all have read a lot of sentences where someone is say some irony to some words. The example of irony are: here under leave of Brutus and the rest for Brutus is an honorable man, or so they call the honorable man. We have already read the Julius Caesar, where these all are the words of Antonio. The fire station burned down last night. This is also a sarcasm because fire station cannot be burned down, because this is used to stop burning. As soft as concrete. This is just another example. And now the next example for all of you regarding the figures of speech or poetic device. So your next poetic device is hyperbole. Hyperbole is an exaggeration and things are made to appear greater or lesser than they usually are. We are continuously using some words in so hyperbolic or in so exaggerated manner that they are looking their somewhat another meaning. They are looking some exceptional. Hyperbole is a literary device used often in poetry and is frequently encountered in casual speech. Occasionally, newspaper and other media also hyperbole when asking of accident to increase the impact of their story. No one imagine that a hyperbolic statement is to be taken literally. It can also be termed as overstatement. It may be used to evoke strong feelings or to create a strong impression, but is not meant to be taken literally. For example, the burglar ran as fast as lightning. The professor's ideas are as old as hills. The troops were swifter than eagles and stronger than lions. Her brain is the size of a pea. I have told you a million times not to lie. These all are the examples of hyperbole. And the students, now your next term is alliteration. Alliteration is a series of words that begins with the same letter. Alliteration consists of the repetition of a sound of a letter at the beginning of two or more words. Students, you will have to listen very carefully that every word's first letter will be same. These types of words will come in any other line. We can definitely find out in any poetry line that this is none other than alliteration. So, for examples are: dirty dogs dig in the dirt, cut cats cooking carrots, some slimy snakes were slowly slithering, purple pandas painted a picture, white whales waited in the water, and now the last point for all of you is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a figure of speech where a word is used to represent a sound. When you name an action by imitating the sound associated with it, this is known as onomatopoeia. In the onomatopoeia, students, we are only found the sounds of anything else: clattering, hissing, For example of onomatopoeia are also commonly found in poems and nursery rhymes written for children. Onomatopoeic words produce a strong image that can both delight and amuse kids when listening to their parents read poetry. Some examples of onomatopoeia poems for children are Baba Black Sheep and old McDonald's had a farm. EEO. Example: zip goes the jacket. Zip is an onomatopoeia words because it sounds like a jacket is zipping up. Zip is an example of onomatopoeia. Okay. Now when you zip up zipper and you sound the zip makes sound like a zipper. Here are some other words like boom, bang, slash, slurp, gruggle, mew, etc. I hope you understood the real meaning of poetic device, or these are some poetic device that are frequently used in your class 12th poetry, and there are lots of more poetic device. These are not going to be used frequently in your poetry. So I hope you have enjoyed today's class of poetic device or figures of speech. Thank you and have a good day.